Hello and welcome to Joy News at 6. The news is live on Joy 99.7 and hits 103.9 FM in Accra, in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM, and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Sankara FM Yendi, Castle FM Cape Coast, Laura FM Laura, and Radio Max Takrade. Get radio, TV, and online content on the myjoyonline.com interactive app for Android and iOS devices. Coming up, former Auditor General Daniel Domlevo takes on office of the president for violating the country's constitution after the Supreme Court described his forced leave as unconstitutional.
The office of the president, which is the highest office of the state, is the one who is at the forefront of doing unconstitutional things.
Also, 9 million SIM cards deactivated this morning as deadline for re-registration ends.
You'll not be able to make a call. You'll not be able to receive a call. You will not be able to send an SMS, but the operators will be able to send you SMSs.
We have details as hundreds massed about the NIA in a desperate attempt to get their Ghana cards in business.
Cost of doing business expected to witness marginal increase as utility tariffs go up. Today, details on the Joy Business Report.
Also, ECG bashed persons who reconnected themselves after being taken off the grid over illegal connections, as the company says it will prosecute all perpetrators.
Some had been disconnected in the earlier drive, but then they had decided to reconnect themselves, so we disconnected again.
I am Amiesi Thompson. Details shortly. In our first story, former Auditor General Daniel Domlevo has lashed out at the office of the president for breaching the constitution. His comments come in the wake of the Supreme Court's judgment that described as unconstitutional the directive for him to proceed on leave in July 2020. Speaking on Joy News, Mr. Domlevo insisted the highest office of the nation ought to know and act better.
The office of the president, which is the highest office of the state, is the one who is at the forefront of doing unconstitutional things or breaching the constitution of the country. And I will advise that going forward, that office should respect the constitution and the laws of the country. But I'm also happy that the verdict has finally come and it confirms or vindicates my position.
Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at CDD, Dr. Kojo Asante, is concerned the court took so long to resolve this matter.
To expedite the process, and in some cases, just drags its feet, for a long time. I think we have to address these things because it affects the delivery of justice and the reputation of the judicial system. If it is seen as, well, it's not applied fairly and consistently. And there has to be a reason. Even if it's going to be a delay, there has to be a reason.
Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at the CDD, Dr. Kojo Asante Pompuni. Now, if you haven't been able to make or receive calls, send text messages or make financial transactions this morning, it's most likely you are one of the 9 million subscribers whose SIM cards have been blocked by the National Communications Authority for not having re-registered it. According to the Chamber of Telecommunications, this figure includes SIM cards which have only gone through one of the required stages of the re-registration process and those that have not been linked to the Ghana card. Dr. Ken Ashipe is CEO of the Chamber of Telecommunications.
You'll not be able to make a call. You'll not be able to receive a call. You will not be able to send an SMS, but the operators will be able to send you SMSs. And then you will still obtain access to be able to dial your star 404 to be able to do your SIM registration should you get your Ghana card. So, but the thing about it is that there is no time limit to that. The NTA studying it could come a day or two after and say, okay, if you don't, you're blocked.
Well, hundreds yesterday massed up at the National Identification Authority in a desperate attempt to get their Ghana cards, the key document required to complete the re-registration, but some said they still weren't able to access the cards.
I'm coming from Winneba.
Have you registered your SIM card?
Not yet, have not, because I've not received my Ghana card.
How long has this been?
That was 2020 when I registered. I've not received my card up to now. So I've been going, they'll keep on telling me they are working on it. The card is missing at the headquarters. I have to go and come. All of a sudden, last week I went, they said I have to come to the head office. I should tell them that my Ghana card is missing.
Basically, I didn't take the Ghana card seriously, but it's now that it has come to an emergency that you have to come for.
The problem now is I've gone through all this process and I'm done with everything. I've made the payment twice. The first one, I wasn't able to get a code. After 2 weeks now, they said they cannot find my card over there.
Well, the National Identification Authority says it is working to ensure that all eligible applicants get their cards. The authority has also assured that complaints about double payments for cards will be investigated. Away from that, the Electricity Company of Ghana, Tema Region, says it has identified some individuals and companies who reconnected themselves after being taken off the grid due to illegal connections. The ECG says it has summoned the suspects and is taking steps to surcharge them. Now, Sechua Mensah is PRO for the ECG Tema Region.
Today we continue the exercise. We chanced on some customers who had to be disconnected because they owe the company. They had not paid up yet. Some had been disconnected in the earlier drive, but then they had decided to reconnect themselves. So we disconnected again. In some instances, we have to seize their service cables as well. Some have been asked to report to the Tema Regional Office, that's the Revenue Protection Unit of the Tema Regional Office, for onward processing.
87 illegal miners who illegally entered an underground pit belonging to Anglo Gold Ashanti Obuasi have exited and have been handed over to the police. They include 16 others who were arrested in their fresh attempt to enter the underground mine pit in the middle of Mili. Ohim Interior of our security desk, who pitched camp in Obuasi, has more on the following report.
They were not trapped willingly. And omuko hose omuko pe omanu aduane abedi na unfortunately no on their part no baby omufa wurom no me say mine no so leadership no ehu ye na omuko sili ho omuko kata baby omufa wurom no ano that is they can no go back where they went through. The only alternative way omuwoye say omasa pass through the mine tenor inside the mine, and also obviously impossible. Upia not just a wahane over to the mine security.
We'll stay a while longer in the Ashanti region. A chain of mechanic shops have been ravaged by fire at Asokwa in the Ashanti region last night. At least 6 vehicles, several engines and upholstery materials were destroyed. Ohim Interior again with this report.
It is not clear what started the fire. A Joy News team, returning from a trip to Obuasi, stopped over and called the fire service hotline. Shop owners hailed the swift response from personnel of the fire service. The intervention was boosted by a downpour. Divisional Officer Grade 2, Nicholas Opoku Akins, is the Ashanti Regional Operations Officer of the fire service. He says the rains affected the work of the fire service positively.
We've assessed the devastation over here. You could see that now the place is dark. So we can't come out with the actual cause of the fire right now. So tomorrow early in the morning, the crew that were on duty will come assess everything and look at the possible or probable causes of the fire and find the actual cause of the fire. Generally, when it rains, it reduces the extent of fire spread.
And to Tech Thursday, a study of over 132,000 tweets by computer science students of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology has found that Ghanaians react intently to poor performances and largely nonchalant to good ones. Love FM's Kwesi Deborah speaks with the lead researcher, Michael Ishen.
Michael Ishen analyzed sentiments on Ghanaian football matches during the 2022 FIFA World Cup.
I created a Twitter developers account to generate API keys in which I can use in streaming the tweets. So we got 132,000 tweets, approximately. The actual number is 132,115. And then we realized that most of the tweets, some of the tweets were retweets and also duplicate tweets. And then we kind of filtered those tweets out, the noise in the tweets. And we actually got 115,000, approximately 115,000 tweets. We actually used 3 tools, the test blob, Veda, and then Roberta. We realized that Ghanaians really kind of react to negative performance or to poor performance. They react very intense compared to positive or good performance.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
And that's how we end the 6 a.m. bulletin. In the top story, you heard former Auditor General Daniel Domelevo take on the office of the president for violating the country's constitution after the Supreme Court described his forced leave as unconstitutional. I am Amiesi Nyamiche Thompson. Stay tuned for more on the Super Morning Show.
You know, you probably see that. And it's Rickety car.
Are you looking for a new way to revise for your WASI? Then Joy Learning has everything you need in place. Yes, we are back with the 2023 revision show for SHS 3 learners. Don't worry, your favorite question of the day section wasn't left out. And oh, you can engage with your facilitators during live TV lessons, ask questions, and get real-time feedback in the comfort of your own space. The 2023 revision show for SHS learners shows every Monday to Friday at 7:30 p.m. right here on Joy Learning. Joy Learning. Learning is so fun. Joy Learning. Keep learning.
The most exciting, entertaining, and competitive cookery show. Big Chef Tertiary Edition coming soon.
Good morning to you. Good morning to you. It's another tough one today. So, okay, the headline is that Galamsey has become worse. Okay. Now, maybe it's hard for people to imagine what that means. So let's recap. The last time we talked about Galamsey, this was the situation. People were continuing to illegally mine. The Chinese were still heavily involved. There were people's farms and lands being taken over for mining. People were mining in forest reserves. People had been caught mining in forest reserves and nothing had been done to them. In fact, the state had gone to burn the evidence of their crimes for them. Our water bodies, 2/3 of our water bodies in this country had been converted into brown vats of undrinkable poison. And I'm not even exaggerating.
No, you're not. We've seen pictures.
That is what the state of Galamsey was the last time we talked about it. Erastus has been monitoring, and he tells us that it is now worse than this hellscape I just described.
Wow.
It's worse. So, Adiano, like, what's it going to take?
Well, we're just kidding ourselves and pretending we don't want Galamsey.
You listen to this.
After your last documentary, those that they were in operation, they left the community or they left the site. They are no more here or destroying the land.
But our tour of the adjoining villages along the tunnel revealed disturbing pictures of direct active mining in the Tunnel River with residues directed into the tunnel.
So you see, people are doing muff. Oh, it's better, but the reality is worse.
I mean, what bothers me is that we don't seem to have a conscience anymore. It's like nobody cares.
The worst part of this thing, and this is what I really want you to think of if you are listening to us right now, the worst part of this thing is that those who benefit from it are just a few of us.
That is true.
Just a few of us. We are all losing out for just a few of us to benefit. So you ask yourself today, if you are not angry about Galamsey, if you are not calling for somebody's head about Galamsey, then what is wrong with you? Because you are not benefiting from it.
Exactly.
So seriously, what's your problem? If you don't have a problem, then please join the right side of this. Let's call for somebody's head. Somebody's head.
And it's really, I mean, should I say, interesting that nobody has been held responsible for.
No, I'm sorry. There are people who are responsible. There are people. We have leaders in this country. And if we have a leader, a president, and this thing is getting worse.
Well, the last time he had an alert on it, so he sort of rubbished it.
Yeah. He said when he was confronted with what Akonta mining is doing, he said they are not currently mining in the forest. They are not currently. Who cares? Mr. President, who cares what they are not currently doing? We know, we have seen the evidence of what they were doing. Are you the president or not? We have leaders. So today, we'll call for heads. Because we can't all be living in this country together and a few people will come and destroy all of it for their personal benefit. And the rest of us and our children will be left drinking poison. No. The 6 a.m. news was brought to us by Total Energies. Total, we go the extra mile. Hey, my heart is beating.
We'll get you water. Relax.
Hey. Total, we go the extra mile for you. And Absa Bank Ghana Limited, helping you find a way to get things done. It's time now for the Joy Business Report and a glass of water. And Joy Business Report comes to you thanks to Glyco Life Travel Insurance. Glyco, we cushion you for life.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Joy Business Report. Coming up this morning, cost of doing business expected to witness some marginal increase as utility tariffs go up today. Also, government resolves to pay a minimum of 30% of outstanding energy debt to independent power producers by 30th of June, but the IPPs warn failure by government to do so will affect continuous power generation. In the news this morning, some oil marketing companies increased pump prices, with Guel now selling a liter of petrol and diesel at 12 cedis 45 pesos. And later, International Monetary Fund team expected in town to track progress of Ghana's program and engage more stakeholders. Details coming up. My name is Daryl Carl. Thanks for being with us this morning. The cost of doing business is expected to witness some marginal increase. This is because utility tariffs will see an increase this morning. Water and electricity tariffs should be up by 18% per unit sold. Some businesses have complained that this could worsen their plight as they are already struggling with high taxes and inflation. Some hotels have indicated that these hikes could lead to a collapse of the operations. Dr. Edward Akanyamike Jr. is president of the Ghana Hotels Association.
I think that in line with the minister's ambition to push tourism and hospitality as a major contributor to our GDP, we need to be very careful in terms of how we are allowing the current business environment to affect the industry. Otherwise, one day we'll wake up and we may have a collapsed hospitality and tourism industry. And that will be a big challenge to the Ghanaian economy. So we need to look at a very big picture. Because when you look at taxes alone, you might think that, so we can accommodate the taxes because value-added tax, for instance, is for the consumer or the customer to pay. I see we are in a competitive business.
Dr. Edward Akanyamike Jr., president of the Ghana Hotels Association. Now, government has resolved to pay a minimum of 30% of outstanding energy debt to independent power producers by no later than the 30th of June. This was agreed at an emergency meeting on May 23 between the IPPs and ECG, and as well as government, towards finding a long-term solution to the payment crisis. Here's more.
The agreement was to ease the pressure on members of the chamber and enable them to continue operations while negotiations continue between the IPPs, the Electricity Company of Ghana, and government towards finding a long-term solution to the payment crisis. A statement from the Chamber of IPPs to the Finance Minister, cited by Joy Business, stated that unless the IPPs receive the payment requested by 30th June, its members would not be in a position to guarantee the continued generation of electricity. The statement urged the government to treat the request with the agency it deserves and take the steps necessary to avert such situation.
That was a Business Desk report. Some oil marketing companies have started increasing pump prices. Guel has taken the lead, selling a liter of diesel and petrol at 12 cedis 45 pesos from the old price of 12 cedis 30 pesos a liter. The increase is in line with the bi-weekly review at the pumps, which has been influenced by the cedi's performance and crude prices on the international market. Many industry watchers will be looking forward to the margin of increase that will be posted by the over 100 oil marketing firms in the country in the coming hours. While still on fuel, the Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers Association has entreated government to reduce taxes on LPG while stabilizing the local currency to sustain the marginal price reduction of the commodity. According to the association, a reduction in the prices of LPG will not last for long if steps are not taken to reduce taxes. The concern is coming at a time that LPG is expected to decline by about 5% from today. Gabriel Kumi is vice president of the association.
You know, LPG is highly priced. Any single peso that you add to the price of LPG goes a long way to negatively affect its consumption. So what government really need to do is to take measures to reduce the price of LPG so that its own objective will be achieved. Consumption of LPG has taken a nosedive in this country. Last year, 2022, consumption dropped by over 12%. And the figures we are picking from the first quarter of this year is nothing good to write home about. So if consensuous effort is not put in to ensure that the price of LPG comes down. And 99.999% of the reason why LPG consumption is coming down is because the price of the product has shot up so high that the ordinary Ghanaian is not able to afford.
Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association, Gabriel Kumi, let's check the commodity market for you this morning. Crude oil selling at $72.66 a barrel. Gold went up marginally to open trading at $1,963 an ounce. Cocoa trading this morning at $3,007 a ton after increasing by $2. You're listening to the Joy Business Report. The IMF staff are expected in town later this month to track progress of Ghana's program with the fund. This will be the first staff mission after the country secured a deal with the IMF in April. There's more in the following report.
This is not a review of Ghana's program, but interestingly, it is coming a few weeks after Ghana secured the 3-year program with the IMF. Staff want to use this visit to find out how the country is progressing on those structural and quantitative reforms that Ghana is expected to implement under this program. For some, this visit is very important because when the IMF staff carry out their first program review in September this year, or even November, they will use the end of June indicators to make a judgment on whether Ghana has passed its first review for the second tranche of funds to be disbursed to the country. There will also be some consultations with government on whether it is struggling to meet some of the conditions. The mission visit will also afford the IMF team an opportunity to embark on another round of engagement with organized labor and the Finance Committee of Parliament on Ghana's program to ensure that it gets more stakeholder buy-in. The IMF staff will go to the board in November this year with this report on Ghana's program review. If it should pass that test, the board will go ahead and approve the second tranche of $600 million to be disbursed to government.
George Afe with that report. The Institute of Economic Affairs says Ghana's economic projections under the IMF program are unambitious. According to the institute, the projections would take Ghana more than 15 years to double its real GDP per capita considering the current state of the economy. At a press conference, Director of Research Dr. John Kwache rather called for strong fiscal adjustment.
Our real GDP is projected to grow at just 1.5% this year, recovering slightly to grow at 2.8% in 2024, and then grow at 4.7% in 2025, 5% in 2026, and 5% in 2027. So that is the profile of GDP growth all the way through 2027. Now, we find these growth rates to be unambitiously low. Now, at these rates, if you look at the rate at which the per capita, GDP per capita is growing, it will take us probably 20 years to double our real GDP per capita from the current level of 2,500 to 5,500 US dollars.
Dr. John Kwache is Director of Research at the Institute of Economic Affairs. Now, the internal auditing must be seen as a critical tool to help Ghanaian businesses to grow beyond their owners to become African giants. This is a session by partner head of advisory at KPMG Ghana, Andy Akoto, speaking to Joy Business after a panel discussion to climax the Internal Audit Awareness Month. Mr. Akoto said businesses stress the importance of internal audit to good corporate governance.
Naturally, internal audit must be seen as a strategic partner to build multi-generational businesses in the context of Ghanaian enterprises, because what we find very brilliant enterprising entrepreneurs giving birth to businesses, but once they are no more, for whatever reason, those businesses fail to thrive after them. Internal audit can help deal with this kind of situation because it will examine all matters of governance, sustainability, succession planning, talent acquisition, and bring an objective and independent view to how to continue to enhance the business, add effective controls, and ensure that everyone is accountable for the reason why they are part of the enterprise.
Partner Head of Advisory at KPMG Ghana, Andy Akoto. The network of communication reporters has supported the action of the National Communications Authority to deactivate and register SIM cards. Speaking to Joy Business, spokesperson of the group, Samuel Dowuna, said the mass deactivation will reduce mobile money fraud. According to him, many cases of mobile money fraud are perpetrated with unregistered SIM cards, hence such actions should go a long way in curbing the menace.
May 1st, and now that the NCA said that they were going to deactivate cards, the fraud incidents have increased. Personally, I've had about 6 people make a move on me. It tells you that these are people who know that their SIM cards will be deactivated, and so they are trying to cash in on it. So let's also admit that fraudsters include agents, and there are fraudsters who are deliberately refusing to go and register their cards. So whatever, the deactivation is going to be affecting a lot of genuine people, but it's also going to help us to clean the system in terms of clearing the fraudsters as much as possible.
Samuel Dowuna is Vice Dean of the Network of Communication Reporters. Well, on Investor Eye today, always diversify your investments, reduce the risk of losing your money in the capital market. Let's listen to Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Reverend Daniel Ogbami-Tete, as he gives some advice on how to diversify investments to avoid losing your money.
So as an investor or prospective investor, the one thing you should look out for is that whether the entity is registered with any financial regulator. We have the SEC, we have the Bank of Ghana. So you should look out for that element, that the certificate of authorization to operate as an investment firm or investment listing. So you have to first of all look out for that thing.
Right, and before we head out, update on the currency market. The dollar going for 11 cedis 80 pesos on the forex or retail market. The pound going for 14 cedis 50 pesos, and the euro selling at 12 cedis 50 pesos. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl Carl. Thanks for listening. Kujankson is back. Hopefully he's calmer.
I've drank water. I've drunk purified water, not from the 2/3 of our water bodies.
But you make very essential points this morning. And, I mean, we've got to have a conscience, if not for anything.
Yeah.
This can continue. We can't destroy our country like that.
And this is not politics.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing we must press home today. It's not politics. If you are seeing this as politics, then you're criminal-minded.
Yeah.
If you think this is politics, if you think this is about someone trying to criticize your party or your government or your leaders, then your mind is criminal on this matter. Because this is us. This is our own natural resources.
Our future.
Our future, right? And the people who benefit from it, you are not one of them. So if you make this partisan, there's something wrong with you. Then you are the problem.
Yeah.
And honestly, look, I don't know any right-minded Ghanaian who is willing to sacrifice his nation for just a few people to benefit. So if you are the problem, you better get out of the way before we take you out of the way. Today we're holding no punches. We're going to paint the picture for real. You will see what these people are doing to us and our nation.
Yeah.
The thing is getting worse. In spite of our best efforts, the thing is getting worse. Evil is winning over good. Are you okay with that?
Definitely not.
All right. Akbafu, always a pleasure. Let's calm down.
Yeah,
we've got something.
The song coming up.
We've got something nice to bring things down.
Oh, it's so terrible.
Oh my goodness. So this is Joe Metal featuring Kwekute.
Oh, I love it.
You like it?
I love it.
Good. Any other fat? Made down.
Aaron, thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Aqua.
Good morning. I hope you are doing well.
Oh, God is still taking care of his children.
Hallelujah.
Amen. Somebody?
I mean, the issue of Galamsey is quite serious, right?
Very.
For some people, it's personal.
Yeah.
If you lose your Baba to Galamsey, you so be worried about the very situation.
You better believe it.
Yes, it's a very serious matter.
And that's my story.
I didn't mention your name first.
I didn't say Galamsey though. I don't know that he went to Galamsey, but I've lost my Baba. Let's be clear. And for a man, when you lose your Baba, it's a tragedy.
Yes.
It's like losing a long-term relationship. So I'm very concerned, looking for a new Baba. But the concern is that I've lost him to the mining sector.
Mining sector.
Yes.
But
he's gone to Obuasi.
Later on the show, we'll have this conversation because Erastus has been going around again, and I've seen the videos. So he went to areas that Akunta Mining was initially. They're no longer there, but the distractions remain.
Yeah.
And so the question is, all the talk about land reclamation, what happened to those forests?
Yeah.
He goes to other places where you can see foreign nationals engaged in illegal mining. In fact, the Shamfans are back on the rivers. So, what's this whole thing we call a fight?
The last time I spoke to the deputy minister in charge of mining, George Mrekuduka,
yes,
I got the impression that, in fact, I was armed with similar information going to say that, no, listen, this place you said you had cleared up, it's also back to the original pollution state. Whenever I mention any of them, they say, well, we know that it is still polluted. It is still in a terrible state. I mean, it disarmed my quest to insist that government has done nothing.
So if you know...
By the admission that government knows that things have gotten bad by the day. I don't know how that is supposed to help the fight, but at some point it should tell everybody in this country that, in fact, I think that the new position of government is that, well, please, we need to help us or we can't fight this alone. We can't do this without your help.
What I have to say about this thing is not as polite as what you people have just said. I'll get into it later, but let's be grateful. That was a very nice inspirational song. Joe Metal there, he calls this one Medanwo. And it was brought to us by Duraplast Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplast goes, water flows.
Let's get into our Drive Safe campaign, brought to us by Joy News and the Multimedia Group and supported by Toyota Superior Quality. Avoid all distractions, keep both eyes on the road and hands on the steering wheel. Be visible, drive with your lights on at night. That's how you drive safe.
All right, let's learn how to say it right. It's brought to you by Kingdom Books. At Kingdom, quality and affordability are their hallmarks. Societe Generale Bank of Ghana also brings you Say It Right, and they say the future is you.
Something must be done.
You say either, I say either.
Winston and I have been talking about how much we miss Mamabi. Now, that reminds me, I've got a super subject for Say It Right. Me versus I. In the context of the sentence I just said, it should be Winston and I, not me and Winston. It is, however, right sometimes to say me and Winston. It all depends on whether the pronoun is a subject or an object in the sentence. Now, I have an easy system for figuring out whether to say Winston and I or me and Winston. Just take the other person out of the sentence and see which pronoun makes more sense in their absence. For instance, me went to the chop bar does not really make sense. So you can't say me and Winston went to the chop bar. It would have to be Winston and I went to the chop bar. But it would make sense to say the chop bar made green soup for me, not the chop bar made green soup for I. So that tells me the correct expression would be the chop bar made green soup for me and Winston. That's how you say it right. That's also a little too early on a Thursday morning to be drooling over chop bar green soup, so I apologize. Yeah, there you go. So let's get into the newspapers, and the review is brought to you this morning by First Atlantic Bank. Refreshingly different. Where are we starting?
Let's start with the Daily Graphic, and it's reporting this morning. Promoting responsible fishing. protection of ocean is very vital. This according to the President of the Republic of Ghana at MFR Powell's Blue Economy Summit. And MFR Power was large and in charge of that particular.
she was the moderator.
I saw her on TV right now before we were coming on.
She's doing well.
Yes. The GRA has noted everybody anyway. But well, I think
why are you always drawing the GRA to people's personal this thing?
In all fairness, as a law-abiding citizen who's enjoying to be tax compliant, I believe that all Ghanaians should be tax compliant.
Of course, they will be tax compliant.
Yes.
And
so when I see things that are worthy of being taxed,
Yes.
and probably being elevated to the level of accountability, I surely have to bring the GRA.
Oh, and I agree with you. And the GRA will take note. And they also take note that they would have paid their withholding tax when they are going to, account for the quota. That's if they go. That's if they do.
You're explaining. You want MFR Power as client or something? I'm just not sure. Anyway,
no, I am not engaged in tax consultancy today.
We said today.
Not today.
Anyway, but this is important. This is about the protection of our water bodies and all of the oceans. Important, but we have law of the ocean too. People sometimes forget, and if you push it into the other corners, we are polluting that space terribly. Now, Assin North by-election is June 27. The EC issued the statement in the direction. This comes from what we'll be having since the Supreme Court did the final ruling on the matter. Then subsequently, Parliament had to inform the Electoral Commission that this is what has happened and this is what ought to be done. The outstanding question, and yesterday and this morning, some people are even reporting it. The charge sheet of a case that has been running for a very long time resurfaced. That charge sheet is reminding the people of this republic that Jechi Kwesin is before court and his case is still running. Yeah. And that almost I send a signal to him, my brother, will you contest? We have a case.
And you
want to go back to Parliament? But I mean, he may win if he contests, which is not. It's not a certainty. Looking at the history, it's not like it's certain that he win, but he may win if he contests. But there are people that are doing the political calculations carefully and saying that, there's a possible Sakande or the name is Sakande, right?
Adamu Sakande,
yes. Yes. So he should be worried about that. Of course, it's not within our right to prejudge the matter before court.
But it is worth mentioning one of the charges is perjury, and perjury carries 10 years. So it is quite a serious cloud hanging over his head.
Well, because of the advice given me by Sir Dennis Ajay of the Court of Appeal, I don't discuss issues that are in court.
Of course.
So we'll wait for the court to. But I'll discuss the Assin North by-election. That I can do.
Yeah.
Look, in 2012 when the constituency was created, we used to have Assin South and Assin North. Then there was a carving out of Assin Central. In 2012, the NDC won the Assin North seat. In 2016, the NPP won. Now, for many watchers, that part of the Assin area that was carved out to create the Assin Central constituency was a largely strong NDC area.
Yeah.
The belief is that in 2016, the wind of change blew Assin North. And by 2020, that wind of change changed again, and then they went for the seat. In a by-election, a lot of things would happen. Now, also the challenge is with the NPP's parliamentary candidate for the 2020 election. If she's maintained, it may be very difficult for the NPP. If the NPP changes its candidate, and they're going into a by-election, you have all government machinery going to be there. Some have said this is going to be the test of the government's popularity and how well it has performed in the management of the economy. But I say, in a by-election, where the government is willing to win, sometimes it becomes difficult. So I see it as a 50-50.
Yeah. There is a very old write-up that actually compared by-elections since 96. Professor Alexander Kechi-Duku Frimpong, his comparison came to one conclusion, that even when incumbents use the strength of incumbency to win seats in by-elections, they end up losing them in the main election.
Yes.
Or subsequently. He basically concludes that it may not be worth it putting all your resources to go and actually fight. Except that when there are by-elections, there are development projects which people would have never thought of coming to constituencies. Roads get done, sometimes they start projects, sometimes they fix problems that they've been fighting. I mean, yeah, sometimes you wish that your constituency equally had a by-election.
There's also the added benefit to the winning party of having something to ginger the rest of your grassroots. You know, sometimes people like to look at it as some kind of barometer, you know, and a lightning rod is used as a lightning rod to spark the rest of your, you know, your grassroots so that they will be energized for the coming battle. The only problem is that these by-elections are quite away from the main battle, you know, so I don't know what kind of effect it will have in garnering these people when it's time for them to be garnered. So
look, the NPP won the Bimbila seat in 2002 when Ibn Chambers left for ECOWAS.
Yes.
They lost it in 2004. Of course, they came back for it in 2008. But, there was a lot of dynamics changing between 2004 and 2008. Look, a lot of things would happen. Let's see how it goes.
The very last story in the paper that's worth mentioning, of course, there's a story about Konfanochi Teaching Hospital suspending 2 doctors for extortion. But this other story is about what we dealt with largely yesterday. The former Auditor General, Daniel Domlevo's leave being declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. And, of course, he was asked to proceed on leave in 2020. And this became a very big issue. Society, they were up in arms. They actually really issued several letters insisting that the presidency should not be interfering with the work of the Auditor General. Then he went to court. Then finally there was judgment yesterday, which sort of said that the very directive was not within the proper application or interpretation of the law. Now, they also said that the appointment of Domlevo's, one of his deputies,
Johnson Ekwemo,
yes, to be acting, what they call it, Auditor General, was also improper and shouldn't have happened in the first place. Then, of course, his reaction is that, well, I mean, when I drew the attention of the presidency to this error, they said I was not a lawyer and did not understand the law, so couldn't have been in any way a proper person to interpret the law for them. But the Supreme Court agrees with the non-lawyer over the very powerful people within the presidency of the Republic of Ghana. And people cannot forget that when he drew the attention of people to this, his leave was extended. You remember the number of days that were added to it. But, of course, there are some who are saying this is a very good decision if you are looking into the future about the protection of the terrain of independent institutions of state. And that we cannot dismiss. Those institutions, there's a reason why we give them some level of independence and insulation so that they can do their job effectively and ensure a not perfect, but a thriving democracy in all of its forms. But he is happy anyway. I mean, I'm not sure if he's been paid all the amounts, because not long ago, there was a story that he had not even been paid the ones that he was due. I'm not sure if those monies have been paid to him. And, well, certainly he should be paid those ones anyway.
Exactly. Let's get to the daily guide for this morning. Asin North by-election, June 27. NDC's Kwesen faces 10 years for perjury. We've talked about that. Domelevo's forced leave unlawful by the Supreme Court. Also, we talked about it. And Market Queens, we're told, have picked form for Alan John Kwadwo Kyerematen. And so we're told that former Trade and Industry Minister Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen has officially picked forms to join the NPP's presidential races after some market queens in support of his candidacy picked forms on his behalf at the headquarters yesterday. They say they believe in his capacity to transform the nation. And thus have decided to pick a form and pay for him to contest the NPP's presidential primaries.
There's something quite different about that. Normally those who pick forms for presidential candidates tend to be people in the political sphere who you would imagine are willing to do that just for the sake of their political relationship with the candidate. It's not. I don't know if it's nice, but it's different to see those we would consider the ordinary Ghanaian going out there to pick up forms for a candidate.
Were they Okada people? The people that did it for John Dramani Mahama.
No. So this one is actually, the Market Queens came there. And
no, I'm saying that, John Mahama's one was Okada people. I'm just tracking the very interesting groupings that
form pickers.
Yes. And a very nice trend, right?
Yes, and in Alan Kyerematen's case, you're seeing the signal that, okay, so this is a man who's been Trade and Industry Minister.
Oh, I see.
So you have people within that sector saying, we support him because of his tremendous performance, and thus have decided to actually pick a form, pay, and get him to contest to become flag bearer of
Now I'm
the
thinking
NPP.
about which people were supposed to pick it up for Wata.
Oh, Wata.
I think farmers,
get
right?
over
Peasant farmers
that
would have been the
acronym.
perfect grouping.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm told some farmers to join. to
Yeah,
take it
because
for
I
Wata.
mean that's very ideal.
I think plantain sellers would have been perfect.
Well,
let's get to the online news review. Or how about the Finder? Just by
Yeah,
way of
course,
headlines.
the
Yeah.
Ocean story is there. There's also another story about harnessing cultural assets key to tourism growth. This is the chief of staff speaking there.
Okay, let's get to our online
All
news
right,
review.
just before that, MFR Pearl is listening. She says good morning to you both. She's taking a well-earned rest after the hard work she did yesterday. And the hard work was not moderating the program. It was counting her money afterwards. All right, the online review now is brought to you by Zenith Bank in your best interest and Goyle Good Energy. Right, Tano River more polluted than it was a year ago. Erastus's report outlines that quite clearly. And then, of course, all the stories about Domolevu, Archbishop Ajinasari's comment, and many other stories are there on My Joy Online for your benefit.
Well, let me tell you about Goyle, because what do you do when you run out of fuel in your vehicle? Do you just stop up anywhere? Don't do that. Let's introduce you to the Good Energy family and why you must be part. Goyle's Super XP on 95 and Diesel SP are the best quality fuel with high performance in town for your vehicle. Goyle Super XP on 95 is a high-grade fuel sold at same price as normal fuel, and Goyle Diesel SP is low in sulfur, making it an eco-friendly option for your vehicle. With over 440 stations across the nation, join the family that rewards you with quality for an energized driving experience. Goyle Good Energy, Goyle. Yeah, yeah, dear.
All right, this one, this is the story I spent some time reading earlier. I'm sad presidency is at the forefront of doing unconstitutional things. Domolevu on Supreme Court ruling. And I don't know whether it is my my misremembering of the Constitution, but I believe that the president violating the Constitution is grounds for impeachment. Am I mistaken?
Come again?
The president violating the Constitution, is that not grounds for impeachment? Anyway, let's use that as our homework. It's time now for the BBC News.